Hola, ¿cómo están?
Okay, I'm going to talk to you about the 5 most common mistakes when doing a portrait of a horse. Well, number one is reference, observation, and composition.
It's okay.
There's so many good pictures here. I want to paint them all. Look at this one.
What?
What a great picture.
What? Ah,
This one too.
ah.
These are all obviously great photographers, and they do an amazing job at capturing the horse and all its glory. So, yes, you do want to paint every single one of them. But you can't. But you can if you're studying, if you're in the process of learning. If you're a beginner, don't just grab the one that you love the most. Pick one that is going to teach you something. Pick one that is good, high quality, either with good lighting. Evaluate the picture that you have that you love the most of your host. Does it have good lighting? Does it have light and shadow? Does it have a whole range of values? Sometimes one of the issues is that we tend to rely too much on our imagination. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it's important to use your imagination when you're painting and use your photo just as a reference. But if you rely too much and if you don't know your anatomy well, if you don't know the bone structure well or the muscles well, even sometimes light and shadows, if you don't know them, then it won't give you that realistic look. You may have a poor composition. So it's framed in a strange way, in a weird way, in a different or complicated angle. It gives you there's certain perspective that they will give you a distorted view of the horse. So you want to pick something. I would say pick your battles too. You don't want to have to fight the photo in order to get a good realistic portrait. Also, when you're looking for a particular photo, make sure that there's no lens distortion. I do prefer pictures that are shot in the 50 to 70 millimeter range. Wide angles, they produce this fish eye lens, and you don't want to do that. You want to be as naturalistic as possible. Point number 2 is get yourself a book on animal anatomy. Now, this one by Jack Ham has been with me for over 20 years. Now, remember, you're not doing medical illustration, so you don't need to know every single bone or every single muscle in order to get a well-rendered horse. Jack Ham does a very good job at defining what's important on the anatomy. Where the muscles go, the bones. He does comparisons with other animals. I find this book very useful. It also shows the angles of the head and the shapes and the lines that you need to follow. So grab a sketch pad and do some quick studies. Look at the proportions. That's also very important of the horse. That make sure that you get the right size of the eye compared to the nose, compared to the ears. All that will make it more realistic. Learn the skeleton, learn the muscles, the main muscles, and how they change with light. I think that's important too. The next point is I'm going to explain value and light. So make sure that if you can see how the light changes on Max's face, depending on the angle of the light, what you're trying to do is you want to get an area with light and an area in shadow. I see a lot of artists that use photos that they have flat light, either with a flash or natural light. On a cloudy day that is very flat. And so all those peaks and valleys that the face could have are not addressed. And you can't see them because the light is completely flat. So that is very important. Find one that has very defined lights and shadows. Remember, you're using this photograph to learn how to paint. Once you start acquiring more skills, then you can play with light. You can use different sources of light. You can change the colors of the light and the temperatures. But for now, as a starting point, have a very well-defined light and shadow. Let's move on to color. So now, an inaccurate color selection is when you choose a palette that is overly saturated or has colors that they look artificial. Now, I'm not talking about modern art. I'm not talking about creating an abstraction of what you're painting. But if you want to have a more naturalistic look at the horse, the horses have a specific palette. So it's important to pick the right colors when you're painting. So do not ignore local color. The underlying color of an object, which is unaffected by light, is crucial for accuracy. The final point is it's about details and texture. If you put too much emphasis on details and you paint every single hair strand and every eyelash, you will distract from the overall form and you create a busy look. At the same time, if you make it too cartoony, then you lose that quality of a well-rendered artwork. It's important to put details what is needed. For example, in the eyes, it's very important, so you can give that life. You can imbue life into the horse. The nostrils also are important. The ears are important to put details. The coat of the horse has a different texture, so depending on the breed, you approach it differently. You're using different brush strokes, breaking the pattern, so the coat doesn't look monotonous, and follow the form of the horse, and that way you break it into pieces and use confident brush strokes. Finally, work in capturing the personality of the horse. Work on the eye and give life to the eye, which is critical to convey emotion. Well, that's it. Those are the most common mistakes when painting a horse.